Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're taking a look at a new challenge in the second season of Street Woman Fighter. It is the battle mission. I'm going to be taking a look at each of the battle lineups. We are taking a look at Section A and Section C of each respective group. I have searched high and low to understand as much information about this challenge because I do not have other seasons to go off of. What's really funny is some people were saying that this challenge is kind of like the K-pop challenge but in cursive, which I think is very humorous, and I am excited about the discussions as these are released. So I'm only going to be taking a look at the A and the C sections of the choreographies for each crew. I will not be looking at Section B until next week because they don't have it released at this time, to my knowledge. I also know how the criteria works and the weight of the scoring, and I am a bit surprised at how heavy the global vote is going to play a role in this challenge. It feels like more and more the voting of the popularity of these crews is making a bigger effect on who makes it through and who is eliminated. But we do know that Mnet is one who really likes making money, and they really like making sure that their shows are successful. So by having the public involved more and more, which some people have conflicting feelings about having so many voting sections of this show, it is part of it is a who are the most popular groups, which sucks to the ones who really have a disadvantage in that, and who also won or within the challenges that have already happened. I do know that 1 Million won the Hwasa challenge, so they were awarded extra points, but we do not who won the other extra points from the global vote, I believe is what it was. But we will find out next week. I do know we have judges Honey J and Trix as special guest judges for this challenge as well. So I'm very curious how they would be voting in this process. So I know this intro is a bit long-winded, but I really wanted to let you know I tried as hard as I could to be as accurate as possible with the context of this challenge so my feedback can be tailored most appropriately. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started. Ladybounce. Here we go. Ladybounce versus Jam Republic. Oh, cute. So they're taking a diss approach. Like they're doing their own thing, but they're taking the diss approach possibly for the whole thing, not just Section C. Ooh, love their fit. Super fun. Yeah. Yeah, fun. With the towels usage. Clean. Very strong. Okay. Jam on Brett. Backpacks too. Woo! I love the usage of the straps on that. That was cool. Yo! Wow, this is definitely one of Ladybounce's cleanest performances. Wow. That was awesome. Okay, bringing it back. I do like the cohesion between the two sections that they did. And, you know, now that I think about it, do I feel that maybe, like, do you want to make it like you recognize who your opponent is and trying to keep them in check all three sections? Maybe because it's a battle mission and it's multiple facets and components. There's 3 different sections to it, right? So I feel that I think they took a really strategically smart approach where they had the banners like that I think that was really funny. They took that kind of a vibe and aesthetic on that. She goes, "Oh, thank you." That is in reference to the mega crew that Jam Republic did. It was Kirsten going through the tunnel. And it said, "Psych." Whew. Starting out very strong. The energy on this is super elevated. Definitely, I'm going to be real, definitely probably one of my favorite Ladybounce performances I'm seeing of the entire season. I loved their crew preview, especially just the videography and the editing that they did was so fun. I really like, out of the whole thing in their competition, I love this, and I loved their crew battle. So I'm very much looking forward to what they bring to the table for the 1v1 freestyle. I think that'll be interesting too. Bring it through. They're definitely super diverse in the styles they choose to explore as well, which is really nice. Very clean. I love how she switches and everybody hinges back and there's a sound to represent that. Super fun. Crawl back. They were referencing that appeared, and just going off of educated guessing here, this section right here reminded me of what Audrey did during the battles between, I don't know if it was between Vessi or if it was somebody else from another group, maybe Deep and Dop. I think she did this against Vessi, and I think that's like a little diss to Audrey there. Man, they've thought it through on this one. Very smart. I love it. And what's interesting is that was super clean in that transition where she was prepped onto their thighs, and then my other dancer came and scooped underneath her so she could come up and be elevated, and you could not see any sense of that transition at all. That was super fun. I love that. Super cool. And I like that they brought their banner out. This is just a preferential thing, nothing to do with them. But you notice how all of them had a Jam Republic, so it was very vibrant in pink. I think it would have been cool if this section they all pulled out their Ladybounce, so it brought an equality to the quantity of their banners. I think that would have brought more of a fullness to their color, their crew color. But that's just a preference thing. I don't think it affects this routine at all. So that's why I say that. I love that she's using the banner, boom, dropping it, but also you have one of our dancers that is subtly controlling them too, which is super cool, but it's not taking away. Super cool there. I love that. Multiple points of control. Very clean from them. I'm so impressed. Yeah. Love that. Hey, and they're just taking these moments and bleeding out. You know, their ending, they let that cross dissolve or that fade to black take place, and we're getting ready for their next one. So to me, something that's just, what I'm doing is I'm trying to just pinpoint what each crew has that just feels out of place or feels different, and they don't dance with backpacks very often, and it doesn't feel like something that they would normally choose. But also, again, I'm not super fluent in these crews outside of the context of the show, so I could be wrong. So I'm assuming, like, I haven't really seen, like, a prop yet. They really utilized that kind of wearable prop. But they got jam and bread, probably signifying Jam Republic. And they're coming here. And what's so interesting is how they did this is very similar to Kirsten going, you know? Whenever they did their crew battle, not against Ladybounce, but they did it against, I think it was Subakill, maybe. But I'm not saying that's exactly what they were going off, but that's what it reminded me of. This right here, so interesting. That does remind me of what I think it was Emma's part in the crew preview for Jam Republic. I think we're going to see more of that kind of. Those kinds of like, what's it? They're gonna placate off of those things from the crew preview. Throwing it away. Yeah. This is super fun. How they're hitting it over. It's really cool how when they're choosing to extend the straps. Super cool. This was super dope right here. Just have it, and even the reverb of that looks super cool. And I love the cross in the back. Even that, it's not just a triangle. They have these crossovers happening. Super cool. The placement of going from the forearm, how they're attaching it, draping it down to the hand, just makes those transitions look way cooler. That was sick. Did you see the pull? Oh, it was probably one of my favorite moments of this entire set. That was so cool. They're vibing it out here. Throw, hey. Throwing the backpacks away, love it. And they're just kind of vibing out, having a good time. And it doesn't feel out of place. It just feels like they're vibing, letting the music ride. I love that here with the letter L. They're like, y'all are going down. This is so cool, guys. And then they have Ladybounce come up at the top. Guys, that was such a fire set from Ladybounce. Definitely a favorite of mine from them. Definitely looking forward to see what Jam is bringing to counter this. Let's go ahead and get into it.
스트리머 파이터 2 배틀 퍼포먼스 미션 잼 리퍼블릭을 응원해주세요.
They're kind of getting to do their own thing here. I love the pink in the hair. Okay. Okay. Huh, okay. So they chose to only have 2 members represented of that part. Wow. Love that texture there. Okay. Now going into this, they ran a risk of working with just 2 people. If you've seen any reactions I've done to Street Man Fighter, as of right now, it is exclusive onto Patreon. So if you are somebody that's coming from Patreon to see this, awesome, welcome. But if you notice here, I have said something about it was 1 million. They did a crew preview and they only had 3 of their members represented. And I had a bit of a negative approach to that because I felt like if that was going to be one of your first tastes to the public of who your crew is, I really feel like we're not getting the full aesthetic of that crew. I think this was totally fine for them to just have 2 people here because we've seen them represent as an entire crew, as a mega crew, as a crew, and pretty much all of the challenges that we've seen. So I don't see this as really any issue as they're coming in and doing this. They're also doing a style that really no other crew is able to do as authentically. So they are presenting a very different style. I just love their utilization of their isolations. I really do. Popping off, love it. My only note is just that very beginning that we saw. It was just very minor in the details with the arms, which is really hard to be super, super clean with this style. I know this. But remember, this is a choreographic section, as well as section C is the choreography competition. So part of choreography is not only the competence of the style you represent, but also the cleanliness of your range of motion and how well stylistically you guys cater to each other in regards to your music. I think they match their music brilliantly, but as I have it paused, this is a unison. Latrice is a little bit lower in her angle in comparison to Kirsten. Now, is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, because whenever you see Latrice ends up going all the way back, so she needed that range to really help her drop down, and you have Kirsten complementing it in the back and the drag up. Now, do I think that, because remember, we are dealing with a live audience that is mostly going to be comprised of people that are domestically in Korea. Do I think that they may lean more towards Ladybounce because they are a Korean crew? Maybe. I'd say there's a higher chance of that happening than the live audience going in and factoring and being like, oh, we're voting for Jam. Jam has a way bigger pull on the international side, so I would say the global vote is going to match more in their favor in comparison to Ladybounce. So I want to know that. I want you to know that. I think for me, how they choose to complement with different, with their different aesthetics and how they choose to do their twerking, I think they do take more of a creative approach, but do I think that they may be operating at a potential disadvantage because by executing some of these sequences, they are riding more on a potential simplistic side in comparison to who their competitor was, which was Ladybounce. They really brought a very different vibe, which is also they ran a different risk entirely, and I've already talked about it. You know, there's just little things here of they're choosing. That pattern is astronomically difficult. That just how they're choosing to do it. It just looks so effortless, and it's really difficult to do, especially with two people. So I'm very impressed at their ability to stay in sync on this. But we can't negate the fact that they're only operating as a duo. If everybody in the crew was doing this, they would have more of a higher in difficulty situation that we're looking at here. But it's difficult what they're doing. I understand that. Does everybody understand that? I don't believe so. I understand it because as somebody who is a student who has learned various styles, this is a style that it takes time, especially if you haven't experienced the implicit cultural side of it firsthand as much as they have. That's a big thing we have to know here. Do I think they're writing a more it's just simpler in their choices to hit the syncopation? They're making some syncopated moments, but are they making as big of risks in those syncopations with the track? I think they could have made more risks. I think that. You know, they really took a very unison approach, which really helped in recognizing the uniformity. They're melting through, vibing out, transitions, because like I said, we're operating at a, we're operating with just two people. Having them just kind of vibe and then transition, it feels different. It doesn't feel as full on the stage as what we were comparing with Ladybounce. We are comparing the two crews. So I can't just isolate to Jam. They are in direct comparison with Ladybounce in every section that we're looking at. I love that doom, 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 the drop. It happens beautifully there. Super nice. They're hitting here. It's just very minor because some of them kept their hand flat, other twisted. And we got to double check and verify that here. Yes. So if you notice, yeah, so Kirsten twisted it near the second half, but Latrice twisted it going forward on it, and that affects, it's just tiny, it's tiny cleanliness things that can make or break certain sections of your group. Like, that's 100% true. This is very different, and I love the fact they took the risk. I really do. I think it's something that really only Jam can bring to the table in this way, and they did a freaking great job of it. Do I think that risk paid off? I have no idea. We will find out next week is really what I think we're looking at. Do I think, regardless, I'm going to be honest, regardless of how they do, because they're so strong and they hold their own really well, they hold their own in the competition. They always have an average or above average performance every time. Very rarely do they have a below average performance. So I will be surprised if Jam Republic, based on their consistency in the entire competition, I would be surprised if they do not make it to finals. I don't think they're even going to get low enough in scoring to where they would even be up for elimination. Honestly, I think they've represented And they are an international crew. So even though I may think Ladybounce could potentially take the live audience vote, that's not nearly as big of a vote as the global vote is. Do you know what I mean? Which goes into the controversy of some crews. Some crews, like, they don't have as big of a following, so they are operating at a disadvantage to that point system, but it can help other crews that could have not as above average performances as consistently. And I'm not saying they're competitor, I'm not projecting that onto them either. I'm saying that there's pros and cons to having such weight in the global vote, and there are pros and cons to not having any weight to the global vote. You know, I feel like people want to feel like they are a part, and that's a really good way to involve the world, not just Korea, you know, and I think that's probably one of Mnet's intentions. So I think that's, you know, I feel like it's more of a preference if somebody wants to vote every week, or if somebody just wants to watch the show and whatever happens and puts it in the hands of 3 special guests. You know, it just depends. Now, I love the costume choice here. It definitely reminds me of Crew Preview from Ladybounce. They went with that because that stuck out to me, and how they're handling this whole beginning reminds me of the Barbie-esque movement quality that they had, Ladybounce did in their Crew Preview. So I remember all this. I love that. It's just their personality is just so showcasing through. Just the energy that they're bringing is really strong, and they hit a lot of movements in very interesting ways that can promote a certain level of it's very clean, it's also very different. Do I think that my overall note for them is there are certain times where I feel like they may be, because they're writing a particular layer of their song, do I feel like maybe they are drawing it out, or they're eating up a tad bit too much time for the allotted time that they do have? Possibly. I would say it's risky. They're treading on the line. I wouldn't say they're overkilling that. I think they're treading on the line a little bit close. I think this is a closer battle than we think between Ladybounce and Jam on the other facets. Maybe with global vote, there's a good chance Jam's really going to take that. Like, they've always been at the top of the global vote. They really have. So I think that, I think Ladybounce has not. So I think they definitely have other facets working in their favor. But I do think if we're comparing the two, Ladybounce really took that approach of dissing through all aspects of their sections. Now, we only saw their 2 sections. They really took that and really propelled it. They only used like a banner to really showcase it, and they used the wordplay of like jam on bread. That was really funny. Here, it's their whole, like, they're taking it's their colors, but they're wearing Ladybounce's aesthetic from the Crew Preview. It was super fun. Very nice. I love that pattern, and I love the fact it was Kirsten and Ling who did it, because Kirsten and Ling they've done Royal Family together, and so they know how to match their energy really well, and it was nice to see that. This add-on was super cool, and then you do the Kangsta walk, dee 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 dee. It's really hard to do that, you know. I love that, doing the peel through. So I would say this section is really significantly more complex. It's clean. This was nice from Latrice. She held it. It was good. With Ling, I think she did just a small basket run, and I made a note of that with Bada and Bebe. I don't know the circumstances, but remember, we have to look at these objectively. I think they could have done away with the basket run and figured out a different way to get Bada on stage. I think here, the basket run, I understand why they have it. It didn't really take away as much as other basket runs and other contexts of the show have, so it's not really a huge thing. Now, this is another example if they're treading on a line here, right? So we technically only, now, the moves that they've done, a lot of them doing them cleanly together are difficult because they are operating with a style or a pocket that not many other crews can do. So they have that to their advantage. But there really was only technically one section that we've seen of this particular section that was definitely complex, writing multiple rhythm patterns and beats to this track. And it looks really, really nice, but now we're eating up about 2 8 counts of walking. Stage presence, great stage presence, probably great performance. They really do have that, and it works so well for them. But that's a risk that they just ran right there too, is that Ladybounce really pulled out all the stops in their set. They had gimmicks of their backpacks here. They don't have anything. Now, I don't know, once again, I don't know if it was required to have a prop of some kind. That's whatever. But here, it's just, they're really pursuing a risky, they're having a risky run. Not in a bad way. It's just, who, I don't know how the judges will swing on it. You know, I have my personal thing for this, but there's so many components that are very confusing that can really factor into who goes to elimination, who moves on, all this, that, and the other. You know, like that boom and bring it back in. This section was super fun. That was very fun. And then of course they had the L at the top. I don't know if that stands for, like, it could stand for loser, Ladybounce, you know, one of those two things. All right, so my thoughts. If I were to pick, I'm going to do it isolated from the two sections. If I were to pick out of the two sections, for section A, I really liked what Jam brought. They did run that risk of only having 2 of their crew members do that beginning, but that's the first time we've seen them operate that way. With Ladybounce, I really like the choice they made. Very intense. I would say that's going to be closer to a tie for me. But my preference would have to go to Ladybounce on how they chose to go about their music. The second one with section C, I really feel like Ladybounce really pulled out all the stops on that, and it was very captivating, and it did tailor into the first section, but I'm not basing my perspective onto that. Going off of everything I've said and analyzed from both crews, I would say Ladybounce they have a higher chance of taking section C compared to Jam. If you're just looking at the audience and you're looking at the judges, possibly. Section B, I have no freaking clue who's going to take it. And I think that's fine. That'll be another day, another conversation. But all in all, this was a really, really, really good lineup. And I'm really looking forward to the discussions on this. I truly am. I do ask, and I normally don't have to make a disclaimer, but I do ask, if you represent any crew or you are a fan of any crew, please be gracious to me when you choose to point out something that maybe I got wrong, or maybe I'm approaching in a different perspective than yourself. Please be respectful in the comments to each other, as well as whenever you're wanting to talk with me, because I love discussing about these things, but you also have to note I've reacted to every single challenge of this entire series, and it's a lot of information, a lot of analytics I've gone through. So a lot of my feedback is based off of what I've seen in the past, what I've also seen here, and the criteria I have really tried to look at to make sure I look at this as objectively as possible. Do I like all the crews? I do. Do I want them all to win? Yes, I do. Please keep that in mind whenever, if you do choose to comment under this video in particular. Thank you. What a freaking ride with some of these challenges. I cannot wait to see the results of this challenge, as well as the more detailed point results of the Hwasa challenge, as well as seeing our final performances. It's been such an amazing journey so far, and I love the discussions I've had with everybody, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this all unfolds and discussing it alongside with you guys. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.